Jump right in. Is one player, just one, starting to maybe overshadow the entire NBA?
That's quite the opener, but I see where you're going.
Well, think about it. You scroll your feed, tune into highlights, chat with friends. How often does one name just dominate?
Luka Doncic.
Exactly. It feels like every conversation, every jaw-dropping play, every single debate, it's all Luka, Luka, Luka.
It's constant.
So the big question we're tackling today, maybe a bit controversial, is this intense focus, this gravitational pull, actually, unbalancing things?
It's definitely a discussion worth having. We need to unpack the facts, the hype, and the potential consequences of this. What did you call it? The Luka Effect.
Yeah, the Luka Effect. Because look, nobody's denying he's phenomenal. The talent is absolutely undeniable.
Oh, completely. His arrival wasn't just joining the league. It felt more like a storm hitting shore, fundamentally changed the landscape almost immediately.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't some slow climb. It was like, boom, he's here, and he's putting up numbers that, well, they put him next to legends.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah, like historical numbers practically from day one.
And it's not just scoring, right? It's the whole package. He's this dual threat scoring and playmaking, near triple doubles almost nightly.
And the control. The way he runs that Dallas offense already, it's like watching a 10-year veteran out there. Total command.
Oh, absolutely. And the highlights. Forget about it.
Right.
The clutch shots, the impossible passes.
Yeah.
You kind of need instant replay just to figure out what he did.
He definitely keeps the highlight reels busy. Those, did you see that? Moments are almost expected now.
Right. And that leads to this total reliance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like every single important play for the Mavericks goes through him.
It really does. Their offensive identity is Luka Doncic, which, works a lot of the time because he's brilliant.
But, and this brings us back to the core question, is that singular focus, that dominance, starting to ripple outwards in ways we need to examine for the league as a whole?
Exactly. What does it mean when one player commands that much attention?
So let's dig into that. This Luka effect, it feels bigger than just acknowledging a great player now.
Yeah.
He seems to be the story.
Yeah, he's definitely transcended just being an all-star. He's a narrative driver.
Casual fans know him. Hardcore fans debate him constantly. Jersey sales, gotta be near the top.
Oh, yeah. MVP talks, all-star voting. His name is always, always right there. Massive numbers.
Okay, but here's the thing I keep wondering about. Does this intense spotlight, this almost laser focus, start to maybe dim the light on other really, really elite players?
That's a fair question, and it's one I think people are starting to voice more often.
Like you look at Jason Tatum leading arguably the best team in the league.
Right, or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander having an absolutely incredible season, unique style.
Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana, his playmaking is unreal.
Even Giannis, a two-time MVP, still dominant. These guys are performing at the absolute highest level.
But sometimes it feels like their achievements are happening, I don't know, in the background noise, while the main broadcast is just Luka. Why do you think that imbalance might be happening?
It could be a mix of things. Maybe his playstyle is just particularly captivating for media. The highlights are undeniable.
Maybe. It just feels like we, collectively, might be missing out on other great stories because the beam is fixed so tightly on Dallas.
And it goes beyond just media, right? You mentioned the basketball purists, the X's and O's crowd.
Yeah, there's the whole debate about the way Dallas plays, that super high usage rate for Luka.
The argument that the offense can sometimes stall out if he's not the one initiating everything.
Does that style, that, heliocentric approach, raise any flags for you? Thinking long-term, maybe sustainability?
It's definitely a strategic tightrope. Luka's brilliance can obviously carry them very far on any given night.
Sure.
But over a long season or a tough playoff series, defenses can key in. It can become predictable.
Right. And what about the other guys on the team? Does it limit their chances to grow or step up in big moments?
It potentially can, yeah. Developing those secondary options becomes harder when the primary option is so overwhelmingly dominant.
So it really brings up that question. Can you win it all consistently with that kind of structure in today's NBA?
It's one of the biggest questions surrounding the Mavericks, absolutely.
Okay, so it's like this double-edged sword, isn't it? On one side, Luka's amazing. He drives viewership, gets fans incredibly engaged, inspires kids globally. Huge positives for the league.
Undeniable positives. The excitement he generates is massive.
But then the other edge.
Yeah.
What happens when the main story is always Luka versus whoever? Do the opponents, their stars, their stories, Do they just become supporting characters?
That's the potential downside, the risk of imbalance you mentioned earlier. The NBA sells itself as a league of stars. Plural.
Exactly.
And when one star's gravity pulls so much of the attention, it can, well, flatten the landscape a bit. It risks making other significant talents feel less visible.
Especially for the casual fan, right? Someone who maybe tunes in once or twice a week.
Precisely. They might get the impression that it's just Luka and everyone else. They might miss the depth of talent across the league.
And that balance seems so crucial for marketing, for keeping different fan bases hooked, for the actual competitive feel of the game.
It absolutely is. If everything feels like it revolves around one narrative, does it get predictable? Does it lose some of that unexpected magic?
Yeah, that's what I worry about. Knowing the main plot point before the game even starts.
History suggests the league thrives most when there are multiple compelling figures and teams vying for the top spot. Think about those classic rivalries.
Celtics, Lakers, Bulls versus everybody.
Exactly. Multiple stars, multiple storylines create a richer experience and keep more people invested over the long haul.
Okay, looking ahead then, there's zero doubt Luka's a cornerstone for the NBA's future. He's going to be a defining player for years.
Absolutely. A generational talent.
But with that kind of status comes a certain responsibility, maybe. You have kids everywhere, internationally too, watching him, copying him.
His influence is already clear.
So what impact do you think his specific style, that high-usage, ball-dominant, do-everything player, is having on the next wave of talent?
Well, you see young players trying those step-back threes, those flashy passes, trying to command the game the way he does.
Which can be good things. The skill level is amazing.
For sure. The creativity, the confidence, those are positives. But the potential worry is if everyone starts trying to play exactly like Luka.
Right. Do we risk losing some diversity in playing styles? Does every star point guard need to have a 40% usage rate?
It's a concern. A league where everyone tries to emulate one archetype might become less interesting, less strategically diverse than one with varied styles.
And then there's the Mavericks side of it. For them, Luka's everything. He's their hope, their future, their MVP candidate.
But also their biggest pressure point. Their entire success hinges on building the right team around him.
It feels like such a high-wire act for that front office. Get it right, you're a contender. Get it wrong.
You risk wasting prime years of an all-time great. The margin for error is incredibly small when your strategy is so centered on one player. They have to find those perfect complementary pieces.
Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around this. Luka Doncic, undeniably brilliant, a transcendent talent. He deserves the attention, the accolades.
No question, he's earned it.
But
Yeah.
the NBA is at its best when it's a league of stars, plural, competition, multiple narratives.
Right. A league that feels too focused on one individual risks feeling maybe a bit stale or predictable over time, less engaging for the broader audience.
So the challenge is finding that balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do we appreciate Luka's greatness without letting it eclipse everything else?
Exactly. Celebrate him, enjoy watching him play because it is spectacular, but also make sure we're giving deserved recognition to other incredible players.
You mentioned Shai Gilgeous-Alexander-Tatum.
Jokic, Anthony Edwards. The list goes on. These guys are driving forces for their teams and for the league. Their stories matter just as much.
Absolutely. Luka Doncic is definitely a massive part of the NBA's story moving forward. Huge part.
But he can't be the only story.
So let's turn it over to you listening. What do you think? Has the NBA become too Luka-centric? Is the spotlight too narrow? Or is he just that good that this level of attention is simply what happens with a player like him?
We genuinely want to know your take on this.
Yeah, drop your opinions in the comments below. Let us know where you stand. And hey, if you enjoy these kinds of deep dives, breaking down the big topics in the NBA.
Go ahead and hit that like button, maybe subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
For sure. The Luka era is undeniably here. But how we understand it, how we talk about it, well, that's a conversation we're all part of.